incident from the late 70s, back when I was ski patrolling on Whistler. I was actually the head of the ski patrol at the time. I didn't like the situation above us on North Face High. We'd had a lot of snow. We'd had a couple of feet of snow, so things seemed to be really loaded. Standing on this little moraine where I was, I thought I heard a jet plane going over my head, and I looked up, and it was an avalanche coming down out of North Face High. Bruce Watt was near the edge of the avalanche, and he got tumbled, and I watched him, and he got tumbled around.
Yeah, someone yelled avalanche, and the whole north face of Whistler Mountain came down on top of us. Visiting patroller from Snowbird and myself were at the end of the line, and we got taken and swept along on top of
Bruce
the
Watt
area
was
called
buried
Surprise.
so shallowly that he had one arm out, and the guys, when they came to find him, said they could actually see him beneath the snow. Yet Bruce said that he struggled like crazy to try and make an air pocket for himself, and he said he couldn't move anything underneath that snow. He said he was like being encased in concrete or something. He said he was sore.
And luckily, one of the fellows on the team came over and dug me out to my head right after it happened. So he said to me, you know, the other guy's totally buried, you know, what should we do? And I said, get me out of here, because, you know, I was really scared and struggling. And John Hetherington was doing a grid search with Peeps, and he had located the general area. And so I took my ski off and started to probe around to try and find a more precise spot where we could find the body. And we located him, and everybody else started digging, and we dug like mad. I think we went down.
Back in those days, the Whistler Ski Patrol didn't carry shovels as a matter of course, so we actually dug down 4 feet with our hands. So there were 5 of us digging like crazy men. It was 7 minutes. So he was buried for 7 minutes. He was without oxygen for approximately 7 minutes, which is longer than you're supposed to be able to stay alive, I think, without oxygen. And his mouth was full of snow, so he wasn't breathing. He said afterwards that he was on his way out and that he'd resigned himself to die, and he was gone unconscious, and he was quite surprised to come back to life again.
The experience of being buried was a real eye-opener. We were so lucky that we found Rick in time, and he's okay. But that made us feel mortal, and the lesson that I'd been told years before was the avalanche doesn't recognize you as an expert, and that's so true. You can have all of the knowledge in the world, but you just can't figure it all out all the time. And so that made me think that we needed a way to kind of have a backup.
The backup is CARDA, the Canadian Avalanche Rescue Dog Association. In 1979, Bruce Watt and his dog Radar became the first civilian avalanche rescue dog and handler team in Canada. Today, rescue dogs are a common sight in the mountains of North America.
Right now we've got 23 operational teams located in various regions of British Columbia, a couple in Alberta, and a few up in the Yukon as well. Our goal is to save lives, save people buried in avalanches. And one day, we haven't had a live recovery yet in Canada. There's been 2 in the States, but it's just a matter of time. More people are skiing in the mountains. We're getting more teams trained to respond, and it's a matter of time. We'll have a live recovery sooner or later. In Europe, they've been using dogs for over 50 years, and they have live recoveries pretty much on an annual basis because they can get there quick enough.
Quest, search. What do you got there? What do you got there? Dig it out of there. Dig it
One
out.
of the big advantages of the dogs is that they can find people beneath the snow regardless if they're wearing a Peeps or not.
Good boy. Good dog, Quest. Good search.
The dogs are also used for ground searches, working with search and rescue teams looking for missing people.
This is a big spruce tree, and well, it's quite a big spruce tree. You can see how big the branches are, and what happens to form a tree well is the snow will fall, and the snow will stay on the branches, so it creates what we call a tree well. There's no snow around the tree, but the branches are kind of covering up the the well, and they're quite dangerous for skiers and snowboarders if they fall into them backwards and head down or anything like that, because it's really hard to get out of them. So if you're skiing in the trees, ski with a buddy.
Just a month before this interview, Yvonne and Cisco found a snowboarder in a tree well. He was just outside the ski area, 100 meters from a boundary rope. But he was by himself, and when he fell into the tree well, no one heard his calls for help, and he died. It's the second victim Cisco has found in 2 years.
You know, dealing with stuff here, sometimes you wonder, you think everybody's out here just to have fun, and then one little slip up and boom, and you think, wow, was that worth it? But I had a hard time with this guy over at Blackcomb. It just kind of, the other search, I think a lot came back to me, and I thought, oh, God, why? But then it's just like, well, it's part of life in the mountains, and that's it. That's the only way you can look at it. It's not fair. It's not anything, and people are out here to enjoy themselves, and sometimes, you know, it could be their mistake. It could be just, it was their time to go. That's it. It's life in the mountains.